are going to start with. He was actually a part of the Black History Month crew, is Mel. And Mel and I met when I was doing my fashion thing and I was trying to figure stuff out. And I was in Leimert Park and I saw Mel walking toward me. And I was like, wow, he looked dope. Like, who is that? I saw how he was dressed and everything. And I just kind of latched on. I was like, I need help. I'm doing this fashion show. You're a designer. He was just like, sure. And ever since then, he always be like, all right, sure, I'll figure it out. And so, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mel from Head Attire. So the video will also show just some of his background and his photos, so we can start that. And when you and I first spoke, you had told me in 2020 your life, like everybody else's life, also changed. So let's start there. Is it the mic?
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me if my voice is hoarse. I haven't gotten any sleep in the last few days, running around crazy. But I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Um, 2020, yeah, life was definitely different. It was a reset for me as well as everyone else. And my business, I actually launched at the end of 2019. So I instantly got success like right away. I saw a lot of success and it was growing, and then boom, COVID hit, and then everything shut down. So I had to make adjustments, but it wasn't until about mid-pandemic, which was the following year, like early 2020, like a little bit before we met, 2021, that I had to restructure my brand. So it's called Head Attire Trendsetter, and the acronym is HAT, because it started off with fedoras like the one you were wearing earlier, back in the day when it wasn't so popular. That's how I started my brand. And in the pandemic, no one was going outside, so no one could wear a hat, but people can always wear clothing.
Right.
So when I met you in the Leimert Park, Soul Folks was the first store that gave me my shot. It was a black-owned co-op with a bunch of black brands that were coming in, and it was a new store that gave me an opportunity to create. And I feel like God has blessed me with the talent and the eye of art. So I like to just say I make wearable art and things that uplift us and highlight our excellence, and highlight self-love and things that encourage us, and at the same time look fly. So
I know, like, of course, during 2020 there was the riots and injustice going on.
Yeah.
You started with some shirts that were representing that.
Yeah.
Right? Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Oh. I'm sorry. I was like, what was that?
Not there yet.
Okay. Yeah. The George Floyd riots. Yeah. Okay. As we all know, the injustice and the racism that exists in this country to this day. I just think it hit a head, and people were just, tired of it again. I was around back in '92 when the King riots happened. So to see it come around, and this time, like, the world get involved, and it wasn't just us as black people upset, but the world was. I didn't want to go out there and getting all the chaos. So I just used my creative mind, and I just created a line, and it wasn't really to sell it for profit, but just to acknowledge not just George Floyd, but a lot of people that were murdered, to the hands of the system, and just kind of bring a little bit more light to it in more of a creative way, so people can always remember them. So I made a shirt, and it represented all of their names basically on a shirt, but it did it in a way where it spelled out Black Lives Matter. And this was before all the controversy with the Black Lives Matter as an organization, but I just wanted to highlight Black Lives Matter as like the people on the shirt matter, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so, like, before, like, starting your clothing line, you were doing what type of work?
Yeah, I was working at UPS for 20 years. I started when I was 20, and quit in 2019. And that's when I launched my business later that year. It took about 7 months. I really didn't know what I was going to do, to be honest. I just know I didn't want to work there anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So Mel, I don't know, like, I feel like Mel has, like, multiplied himself some event. And so I don't know if you saw some of the photos. So there's like DJ Quick and
Oh yeah.
Stevie Wonder, Genuine. But like, how did you develop this brand and be able to get the celebrities behind it too?
The celebrities actually came to look for me.
Really?
No.
Really?
No. I'm a fan of a lot of these people, and coincidentally,
So that's the shirt right there that you're talking about.
yeah, that was for Black Lives Matter,
Yeah.
and yeah, did a small campaign around it and got a bunch of black people together in the mall. In the park, and did a rollout for it. But back to your question about the celebrities.
Was it like you see, like maybe on social media that they're going to be at an event, and then you
Oh.
just go and have a jacket and be like, "Yo, this is for you," or how does that
Well,
happen?
No, not quite.
I don't know.
Because you can try that, but it's a little dangerous.
Yeah.
It could be sketchy because a lot of these people, they roll with a crew and entourage, security. Yeah, they can feel you like you pose a threat. A lot of people really guard it, so I don't approach them in that way.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to be in a network of people that are connected and affiliated with these people. So when they throw events, they'll invite them out, and they'll bring, because they like my brand, like the way you and I connected. They like what it stands for and what it represents. They'll bring me on to surprise them. So they don't even know that I'm coming.
Okay.
So I surprise them and I gift them, and they're happy. The event, they're happy, and it's kind of like a win-win for everybody. Yeah, and usually it's a good relationship after that. Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm networking.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
what, with your fashion brand, like what support did you have in creating it?
I didn't get any support. No, I had to reach out to just friends that I knew because, we didn't really have generational wealth. Most of us, at least, we didn't know how to really roll out a business the correct way and go about getting a business loan and things like that. So I had to use all of my money, and if I ran out, I had to borrow money
Right.
from a friend and then pay him back with interest. So it'll be business. I'm not borrowing it for free. I'm going to make sure they get a profit on their return. And I always did. I made good on it, but I knew I had something. And so I was just figuring it out. I didn't know, and it did work out, and it's still working out. It's not even where I haven't seen the light at the end of the tunnel yet. I'm still working. I always feel like there's so much more. But what I like about this business is that it allows me to meet brilliant people like you and be amongst people like yourselves. And networking is really, really key because so many doors and opportunities open up. It's a lot bigger than clothing, because it start off with hats, and then next thing you know, you're invited to do business in other avenues, and if you choose to, because there's a lot of opportunity with clothing. You'd be surprised the people you meet, And I'm sorry, I might have gotten away from your question. I get caught up in talking. Hopefully I answered it.
So, in knowing that you kind of had to start off doing everything by yourself, like what would you have changed now that you know and starting out?
I don't think I would have changed anything because I think the outcome would have been different, And I do, I like to prove people wrong. So when people, I don't listen to naysayers. When people say that you can't do this, you can't do that, you're gonna get a lot of that along the way. And that's with anything that you have a desire and a passion for. People can't see your vision. We all have different talents, and only God knows what we're capable of doing.
Right.
So if another person doesn't understand, it's okay. They just don't understand. And it's not even really about proving them wrong, but it's just proving yourself right.
Right.
So I just continue to just go on my journey and my path, and I feel like this is what I was born to do because as a kid I used to draw. I used to draw characters and put fly clothes on them and clothes that we couldn't afford, like cross colors and things like that. And now that's what I'm doing for a living. I get paid for it. So and I actually met Cross Colors, the guy, and it's the craziest thing. Yeah.
What part of achieving your vision makes yourself smile?
Honestly, things like this. Yeah. I like the energy that I get from people like you and other people in the room that just, I think it's more of an energy thing for me. And my clothing really has a purpose, and it makes people feel good. And so I'm just not really just throwing things out there that just don't have any meaning. I really want things to last a lifetime. A lot of us just buy clothes, and then either we wear it or we don't. We donate it to the Goodwill in a year or two. You did that, yeah. I just did that the other day. I cleared out like 20 or 30 bags full of clothes. But my point is, I wanted to make something. I want to be intentional with what I make. So when I create something, I look at it as art. So when you buy art, usually it appreciates, you know. And so I want something to last forever. I don't want it to be trendy. I don't want it to be about me, you know. So I make really positive and uplifting things that last a lifetime, that you can carry with you forever. So in 5, 10, 20 years, people can still stop you and say, oh, I like that. I like the message, and I like how that looks. You know, and you can keep it forever.
Right.
Yeah.
He's wearing.
Yeah, like one of these here. Yeah. So this is a self-love jacket. So when you mind if I stand up? Okay. So so this jacket is mirror reflective. So when you look in the mirror, it reads the word love. So L, the heart, is over your heart. V and E. So when you hug yourself, like love yourself. So when you look in the mirror, it's always reminding you to love yourself, self-love. And it's a very subtle message, so you don't really see it. People just say, oh, I like the jacket, look at the heart. And then when they read it out, they're like, oh, my God. That's what I like. Yeah, like the subtleties and, you know, how it makes people feel. I like it. Yeah.
It's nice. And then you also have the LA jackets. I saw Ray J had one. And
Yeah.
He's in the video doing his thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's exciting. So
Yeah.
one of the last questions, like what advice would you like to share to someone that wants to get into this field?
Oh, yeah. I'll just say for them to be very, very passionate about it. And if it has to do with money, for me, that doesn't motivate me. But everyone's different. You know, I'm not really doing this to get rich or anything. I know that's going to come if God blesses me with it, and but I'm passionate about it. So whatever it is that they desire to do, just be wholeheartedly passionate about it, you know, and enjoy doing it, because I really feel like I'm living out my dream now. Well, my first dream was to play basketball, but I ain't make NBA. So, but this is my God-given talent. So we can have multiple dreams, you know. And I feel like, yeah, I really think that if you can find what you like to do as a hobby and find a way to get paid for it, is what I like to say, then that is the ultimate win. So whatever it is that you desire, just doesn't matter how old you are, and doesn't matter what people think, whether you should or shouldn't do it. Just wholeheartedly love what you do and just go for it. Yeah.
Thank you. And one thing that I always have appreciated about you is just how humble you are.
Yeah,
and just like
you.
how down to earth you are, especially like when you get to another level where
Yeah.
you are meeting celebrities and you can feel like, I don't have to come do this
Yeah,
or
yeah.
do that. Like Mel had several events going on like right now, and he was like, I can do 30 minutes at yours, but I got to go back. So just thank you for being
No
here.
problem.
Thank you just for always
Yeah, thank you
saying
for having
yes.
me.
Everyone?
And thank you
Yeah.
all for having me and listening. I greatly appreciate you. Really, yeah. Thank you.
You can just leave it right there. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you. So next up is Brownisha, and so for her, like I spoke to her a few times and heard a little bit about her story, and I was just like, oh my goodness, yes, can you do this, please, please? So I'm excited just to learn more and for you all to be inspired. So please welcome up Brownisha. Oh, right here.
I don't know what to say. I don't know where you got that from. No, listen here.
All right. So Brownisha, transformational coach. So tell me, like I know things started, was it like as far as childhood for you and really changed your life? So let's just start there and we'll keep going.
Okay. So if we're gonna talk about childhood, it'll take us all day. It'll take us all day. But what I will say, what I'll say now will speak to what I'll say at the end. And when we talk about my childhood, one of the things I always tell the people is, y'all, I'm nervous. One of the things I always tell people was that I was raised in a drug-infested home. And so when I say that, I say it to bring light to who I am now. And I think it's one of the things where on the flyer where I make the statement of, it doesn't matter what happened or what is happening, do what God has told you to do, because if I never told you that I was raised in a drug-infested home, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't look at me and like, oh, look where she was brought up at, right? So that's where the transformation came about. And I will say that I won't go that far as childhood, but I'll start off in about 2018. It's when I made the choice to run after my dream, and I wasn't letting nothing stop me. One of the powerful things was I saw the video earlier that you guys were showing, and that shed light on my life. It really shed light on what I was going through, what I thought I wasn't going to accomplish, and I was like, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna do this. I don't care what nobody say. Like, I'm going after this. And so in 2018, I did make the decision that I wanted to see people's lives change. And I was already an ordained minister. And I knew, like, God had called me, anointed me, and called me to the church. But what I was trying to reach was the world. And I knew that because of my upbringing, my grandmothers took me to church, but it's a lot of people that would never come through the church doors. So I had to go to the people. So then I created the Transform Your Life coaching and consulting, and that is my marketplace ministry. That's how I reach the people now. I might not show up and be like, oh, I'm evangelist such and such. I'm just simply Coach Brownisha, and you never know what your interaction is. And so that's where it started off, and I think it was a couple of pictures that were shown. Through that, I saw so many lives change. And
what was going on in 2018 for you to make that shift?
So to make the shift, what happened was I had hit like this rock bottom. I actually hit rock bottom in 2017. I was going through, and that's where I was saying the video was relatable. I was going through depression really, really bad. And so I came to like this crossroad, and I prayed, and I was like, well, Lord, I know you. I'm saved. I know all these things, right, but what is this? What's going on with this? And so it went from that to my father passed away, and that was my rock bottom. My son, I have a special needs son that's getting ready to turn 17. He had a surgery, and he was admitted to the hospital, and he had a reverse reaction to medication, and it was like he was on his deathbed. So me and God was going back and forth, and I was like, yeah, you took my dad early this year, so this my son, like, could you just let me keep him, please? Yeah. And I'm gonna say, I didn't say it that night, y'all. I'm gonna be honest, I was a little angry. But that was my rock bottom, and I had to hit rock bottom to then go up to the top. And so I knew that if I was a person that loved God, and I knew all these things were spoken over my life, but I was yet struggling with depression and all these things, I knew that there were another people that I needed to reach, and God was letting me walk out this path so I can understand and then go back and get the people that was going through the things too. And so I created workshops. I started just reaching out. I just started doing little small stuff that, girl, I was like, I don't know if it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try it. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try it. And it was one day I had a workshop, and it was called the Break Free Women Workshop. So I started off with women because I was like, the men, they ain't gonna want to hear from me, right? So I started off and I did that, and I broke off different segments of different things that people struggle with. And one was my thoughts get the best of me, or it was many different topics that we were talking, or one was talking about being rejected. And so those rooms were filling up. And when I looked around, I mean, the people that were assisting me was running from room to room with tissue. And I'm like, what's going on? Right. And so I then came to know that God had given me something that the people really, really needed. And they weren't talking about it. And so I spearheaded it. I just spearheaded it. And then I'll be honest, because I talk about my background, nobody taught me nothing about like business, administration. I had none of that. It was me and God, like wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, we go do this, we go do it. I wasn't even charging at some point. And my friends were like, you're gonna have to charge something. And I was like, well, I don't want to. Right. They was like, no, you have to charge something. So I did. I charged a small fee, for the people to get in, but the testimony of that, and even in that, it was like going into the location when I first did it, I looked around and I could just hear the Lord saying, like, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah. And so from there, I ran with that. And I created my coaching and consulting business to then go out and just get all the people that I can get and help as many people as I could.
So what are some of the things, say 3 things that people learn coming to some of your workshops?
One of the things that people are learning that come to my workshops is they're learning that it is okay. It's okay how things are. It's okay if the thing don't look the way it's as if you want it to look. It is actually okay because what I do say is, y'all, and I told Tam, I was like, the church, I want to start preaching. But what I do know is that pain is an indication that something is getting ready to happen. And you think about what I thought about.
Say that one more time.
Pain is an indication that something's getting ready to happen. If we talk about even giving birth to a baby, pain is presented before we actually push out the blessing. Amen. And so, it's a pain is an indication. So what I want people to know and people that come in contact with me is, you may say something crazy has happened or you are in a moment when everything is going wrong, but that's only an indication that something great is getting ready to happen. It's an indication. We look at pain like, all hell is broken. It's all over. No, it is an indication that something is getting ready to happen. And so I might not always present it in that way, but I always let them know that wherever you are, it's just the start. And I don't want to get ahead of your question, so I'm trying to. I'm like, look, don't let me go all in because I can. I can, but I don't want to go all in. But yeah, so that's what I present, and I present my transparency, and most definitely I use my life as I represent my brand. I represent my story is what represents the transformation because I am the example. Yeah. I'm the example that it can happen and that it will happen.
You're the testimony.
Yes, definitely. I'm the testimony.
So in becoming a transformational coach, like what was something that was very challenging for you?
The very challenging thing was me getting through my own stuff.
Yeah.
Me living it out. I had to fight through my own stuff. I had to fight through what was said to me. I had to fight with
When you say that, what do you mean?
what was said to me, like growing up, because of the environment that I was brought up in, and the people would look at you or your upbringing or your address, and they will already deem you as not to be anything. So I was fighting through the voices of, oh, you're never going to be nothing, or you like that lifestyle, or my mom, she had this friend. And she was like, or none of your kids, because of who my mom was, she was like, none of your kids will grow up to be anything. So it was me seeing what God was giving me, but me listening to what they said. So I'm in between trying to do what God say, but it's like, but they said you not. But I'm like, no, they got to be crazy because he's saying it and it was coming to pass. And so the more and more God did, the less and less I heard their voice.
Author of
Yes.
How many books now?
I am an author of 4 books.
4 books, amen. So how did that, was it writing books first, or were you journaling and then becoming a transformational coach? Like what came first?
I actually been journaling my whole life. From a little girl, I started like writing my diary when I was 7.
Me too.
And so I journaled the journey of my life.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. But I never thought I was going to be a writer. I was like, I'm not a writer. I'm not an author. I don't know who's going to do that. Like, not me. Again, because I was looking at where I came from. So I was like, I don't write no book. But it just kept coming to me. And then.
And our diaries were our first book.
Yeah, they actually was.
We didn't even think about that.
And
it
one,
really was.
in one of my books, I did use some of my journals from when I was a kid because it spoke. Because it spoke life to where I was going. And then when I wrote the book Metamorphosis,
I'm getting chills, right?
when I wrote the book Metamorphosis, The Transformation, it was talking about my journey, starting at the age of 5. And so I then had to reflect back on what I was saying when I was 10, when I was 11, or the state of mind that I was in then. And it would then speak to who I am now and how things are coming to sabotage who Bronisha was becoming. And so I had to include that in the book. But yeah, never thought that I was going to write not one book and end up writing 4 books in 1 year, and they're all bestseller on Amazon.
Amen.
Yeah, in 1 year.
In our last question, what advice would you give us in becoming a transformational coach, an author, and someone that had a similar experience growing up as you?
Don't let nothing stop you. Like nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. If I had all day to tell you all of the horrific things that I had to experience, the pain that I had to endure, let absolutely nothing stop you. I don't care if the sun don't rise the way you want it to on tomorrow. You get up and you keep going. You keep going into what you have prayed for, what you've asked God for, what God told you was going to be. That's when you stop. And then even then, you better keep on going and do what it is that it is in purpose for you to do, because even everything that I went through, it was all a purpose and a plan. It was a part of that. So
I was already written.
Yes.
Amen.
Look, don't get me started. But I would just encourage y'all in here to don't give up. Like keep going. And when I mean keep going, be like the Energizer Bunny, keep going and going and going. Keep going and going and going.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so next up is my friend, and I was trying to think, how long have we known each other? It's like 10 plus years, and I was also trying to think, like, who introduced me to this man that has always had, like, an amazing vision, my friend Shuby Edwards. I don't know, maybe he knows. Somebody did. But we'll hear more about his story, but please welcome Shuby Edwards to the stage.
That'll be a big no.
Huh?
One step. There you go. That wasn't in the training.
Shuby.
Hello, everyone. How you guys doing?
Right. So how long have we known each other?
Whew.
12, 15, 14?
Maybe 15 plus.
15 plus.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And I don't remember who. I know it was someone else that introduced us, but Shuby and I go way back, and so I don't want to give anything away, so I'll stop there. So I'm trying to think, like, for me, like, the part of your story that inspired me the most is starting a new chapter, you know, as an adult and a new career, and feeling like, okay, I did this piece of my life, and now I want to start this on the other side, and feeling like, am I too old or am I too young? Can I still have that dream? And so that was the piece of Shuby that I was like, he was like, I'm going to do this. I don't care how old I am. I'm going to do it. He was like right at the cutoff. So let them know what I'm talking about.
So I was an officer, transit enforcement officer, regular 9 to 5, steady pay every 2 weeks with health benefits. When you start getting to a point to where you start complaining about something, you need to make a change. Either you're going to make the change, stop complaining, or just suck it up and keep going, right? So I decided to mastermind a plan to get out, to get my freedom back as an entrepreneur. And that leap was considered a leap of faith, because I was going out, I said, I'm leaving all this to go back to this. Yeah. And that's becoming an entrepreneur and opening my own barber studio and salon.
Yeah. Amen. And so I want to say, like, was it July or even just earlier this year, like, we was at his old barber shop, and just he was working there, and we were talking about how much we didn't like it, and just complaining about just the element and what was going on. And he was like, man, if I had this shop, if I had my own shop, I would have, you know, X, Y, and Z. And then 3 or 4 months later, he was like, hey, I'm having the grand opening. I was like, the grand opening of what? I was like, you got it all that fast? I don't know how you did. I mean, but it was already, he was telling me about it, but it was already in his plan to have his shop and to be able to include his beautiful wife over there, Lily, his children, and to have his sons working there and that level of support. So talk a little bit about just persevering to be able to have it, and what were some of your challenges in getting there?
Well, some of the challenges were, it was like, if you're not scared about something or nervous about something, it's not right. Because anytime you jump into something else, you got to have that come on you. And matter of fact, can I make a recognition to someone in here?
Go ahead.
We have Donna Wilson, one of the hairstylists at the salon. She's an excellent hairstylist, and she's part of the 5108 team and everything. I just got to shout out because I didn't see her. Yeah, you know what? Let me just elaborate on that. No one gets there by themselves. No one gets there by themselves. It was me making a phone call to one of my buddies that we used to work together. He gave me a number to the guy that trained me into advanced barber system courses. I got in contact with him. I took barber courses in Vegas. He referred me to a logo designer that designed the logo. That person, wifey, children, and everybody. You know what I'm saying? So you don't get there by yourself. I lost track.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Challenges.
Yeah, the challenges with that, and even before the barber salon and that, like becoming the MTA officer, you were working at a barber shop, and then you were like, well, I want to be an officer. I always wanted to do that, and I feel like you did that right at the cutoff, and then you were like, I need to start running. I need to start doing. So talk about that going backwards a little bit.
Okay, let's go backwards. So.
Yeah.
So anything that I put my mind to, I accomplish it, regardless. So actually, Kay was part of that, helping me out when we was running. We used to run, exercise. These girls used to be off the chain, a beast with running. So I had to focus on that and get that. I made that. Then I got onto the transit enforcement side of it, and it was just hard. You have to push yourself. You have to push yourself. And then I got into a decision to get the own shop, but I had to come back into the industry. And I thought that I could say Shuby's back and everybody would swarm back to it was crickets. So I had to start off from the bottom, right? And I never worked inside of a unprofessional barbershop. Right. And like I said, when you start complaining, you have to make a change. Or if you don't, you just stay.
You just stay complacent.
Right. So it was very unprofessional. I knew that clientele that I wanted to cater to wouldn't appreciate that brand. Everybody has their own brand, and section of people that want that and stuff like that. But I didn't see it that way. I wanted 100% customer service, 100% customer experience, and just really putting my time into the client to really appreciate what they getting. The challenges were getting to this business is that spending and sacrificing more of my time away from the family. And that's hard. But when you're building a business on your own, the family has to understand that. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it gets difficult when, they pulling you this way, but your business is pulling that way. You got to understand that the business becomes number one because this has to work with no fail.
Right.
So yeah.
Was there, in talking about family and relationships, was there a conversation that you had to say, this is what it's going to be like. It might be hard, but I really need your support. I really want this. Even though we can say that to our partners, it's still hard. Like, how did you navigate those conversations?
Well,
you want to share?
I'm very transparent. So, with communication, it was hard. My wife, she when you're used to something steady coming in and you're leaving that, she didn't know the entrepreneurial side of me. She only knew me going to day-to-day 9 to 5. She was nervous and stuff like that because I'm leaving that money and the health benefits. So as she saw the process, well, my wife always, when I start a project, she said, oh, no. Oh, no. So So, but she doesn't, sometimes people don't see your vision, and you have to continue to take them with you so they can see it. She always say at the end, oh, it's very beautiful. What? What? Now? What about, but yeah, she stuck by me and stuff like that, so yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Lily.
Thank you, Lily.
And the other blessing in being the transit officer and fulfilling that vision, even though it wasn't forever, is that you met your wife there. So I wanted to make sure, right? I know the picture.
So when I first went to MTA, I was a bus operator. That's when I retired out of cutting hair, 2011. I was there in 5 years driving the bus for MTA. That's where I met my wife. She was on the route. She was a passenger. So I said, oh,
operator, literally.
yeah, no, I'm driving. Yeah, so I met her. We made contact in the rearview mirror. She smiled. I smiled. She was catching the same route every day. I said, I'd say something at the end of the route because she always about 40 minutes with me. So I asked her one day, was she married? She said no. Was she had a boyfriend? Said no. I said, what?
In Spanish, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
in Spanish. ¿Tú tienes novia or esposa? She said no. I said, can I call you? She said, yeah. So she gave me her number. Then, when the first day come, I planned that we was going to park at the division, the bus division, and take the train to Pasadena. Well, she stood me up. No call, right? No call, no show. So I said, the same thing over and over, right? But no, she told me she had an engagement. Her friend went to the emergency room or something like that. So she called me later on. Then we had our first date at a pizza place on Central and Gage. And then everything else is history. So that was in 2015, March. I proposed August 2015. We got married October 2015. We've been together for 7 years.
Yeah. So let's pause right there. Yeah. and how many children between you two?
So it's 8 kids between us. So I have 4 boys, and I married into 4 girls, and that's one of the little ones right there. Well, she ain't little no more.
I know.
Yeah.
And then one of the last videos is a video of the grand opening. So we'll get there and we'll play that.
Yeah.
So what advice before the videos? So that's the shop right there. One of the it is huge. Oh my goodness, it is huge. It's so beautiful.
Super you coming from 5108 Barber Studio. Today we had our grand opening. It was a beautiful turnout. More than I expected. Long hours, putting in hard work. Guaranteed that you'll get everything that you want in life if you put your mind to it.
We are at the grand opening of the Barber Studio. I am amazed. Look at this. Incredible.
Screens everywhere. You can watch movies. You can watch whatever show you want to watch while waiting for your turn.
How amazing the bike rack was, where you put your bikes at, and the studios that they got for the suite.
I really love the metal work and the reclaimed wood that he has all over the place. It's beautiful.
The chair is crazy. Like, the chair is super, super comfortable.
His logo is dope. There's a little thing behind that logo, but let him share it with you guys when you guys come here.
The detail, everything is consistent, everything is top tier, and it just really speaks to the professionalism and, the Shuby standard.
Creation was off the hook. The final result is wonderful, man. I don't know if I've seen anything like this anywhere in the world.
Images that I saw on Facebook don't compare to what you actually see when you walk in here. It's magical.
All the thoughts that he gave me about the shop, it was like a light of the sun, but then once I saw it, it was like the whole galaxy. Like, it was just like amazing.
But when I came in to see the final product put together, I was like, this is a classy salon barbershop, Salaba shop.
5108 is the next wave barbershop.
You were going to try to duplicate this shop, but you know what? Shuby was first.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as I was watching that, I remembered Shuby used to throw like the most amazing parties back in the day. And then something else that he did, which I never knew anyone else to do, was he called it a family meeting. And so it would really be like inviting his friends, family of the community, and we would be in his living room and just talk about like hot topics. Talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I thought that was so amazing.
So it's called Shuby's Family Meetings. I'll use a play on words, family meetings. Family meetings when your parents say, hey, look, we need a family meeting, right? It's either something serious or we got to talk about something, right? Get to the dinner table. So I call it Shuby's Family Meeting, where we talk about life, love, situations, and relationships. That covers the entire life. Life, love, situations, and relationships. We all go through them, right? So you may be sitting there going through something and thinking you feel alone. While Kay can be going through the same thing and she's expressing it, but you're hearing her story, which is your story, and you can get advice from her. So it's a form to where there's no social media, because we put all the phones away. Mm-hmm. I got a little Ziploc bag. You put it in between two pieces of paper so you can't even touch it, right? To get back to talking, so we do that, and we come together. I've always been about bringing community together and everybody together. So we talk about all the things and above. No cameras, no social media, no cancel culture. You can be free to open up to everybody that's in there and speak your truth without being ridiculed about it. Now we joke and clown and stuff like that, but you got to be tough, because if you like South Central soft serve ice cream out of an ice cream truck, you just gonna melt away. We deal with the real, not just on the surface, but beneath it. Yeah. So yeah, Shuby's Family Meeting.
And thank you, Shuby, and congratulations. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So last thing. So what advice would you like to share with everyone?
You guys listen to this though. Like, you are the only person that can stop you. If you had an idea and your friend said, oh, that's whack, but it's a good idea, you would start doubting yourself. Do not doubt yourself. Push forward and keep moving, no matter what. Okay? No matter what, keep pushing. Self-motivate yourself and don't look for others to motivate you. All right? So that's it.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right. So before we bring up our next person, I have a few giveaways. So let me see.
That's okay.
Yeah.
A couple people were asking where the shop is located.
Oh yeah. He has a booth outside, but here.
It's on Pico and Hauser.
Yeah.
That's right west of La Brea. You know what Roscoe Chicken Waffles on Pico and La Brea? Go straight up. Yeah.
Thank you. And I went there for the first time yesterday. It was beautiful. All right, so we got some shorts. Size medium. Size medium shorts. And extra large, yellow. So someone that's willing to share their vision for 2023 can get these shorts. Okay. Well, you can just, Akila, stand over there with him. Yeah.
So I'm right here with it, or?
Well, no, you can stand right there, Akila. Can you come down off the stage? Yeah.
All right.
So just share in one sentence or two your vision for 2023.
My vision for 2023 is to completely change my life, the lives of others around me. I'm from New York. Y'all don't know me. I've been here for about 7, 8 days. Came here with $1 and a dream. Literally $40 in my pocket, nowhere to stay. But I know where I'm going. Amen.
Gotta get your shorts, gotta get your shorts.
Young man.
This Cali, it's kind of hot out here sometimes.
So I'll give you the. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna give you extra large shorts, and I'm gonna add to your $4. Here's $100. All right. Yeah, Councilwoman. should have came up to right. Went up there. 3X Ministry or a gift. It's also the holiday season. Your hand raised, sir.
Young man, where you at?
Right here.
Right now?
Front and center. Anybody want to add to this man's wealth temporarily? I'm chipping in too.
Come on. Amen.
Let's do it.
Amen. Yeah. All right. Amen. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Since my pastor's not here, can we make sure we get your information, man? Look at my baby done gave the dollar I didn't gave her. Look at. She trying to get her nails done, y'all. She thinks she's slick.
All right.
Deaconess Ann Smith, can we make sure we get his information before we leave here? Can we make sure we do that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Right. And you have some work, so make sure you don't leave. What's your name? I'm sorry. Law. Oh, that's right. Law from New York. All right. So, XXX, size medium, shorts, another shirt. What size is this? These are all 3X. I have one small. So someone else that's willing to share, what are they most afraid of in approaching 2023? If you're ready, walk over to Minister Akila. All right. She was like, I'm ready. It's my moment. Yeah.
Well, you see, me, I have a problem with wanting to do stuff on my own instead of walking, in the presence of the Lord and letting him lead me. I like to lead myself, and that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So I just need to pray more when it comes to 2023 and just walk in his glory and his riches, and everything else will just come by. Everything that's supposed to will come by at the end. But yeah, that's about it.
All right. Thank you. That's Brianna. So what you come go shopping over here. So there's a size small. Do you want that? Or you want a big shirt? Or you want shorts?
Y'all, this is one of our babies. She goes to Alabama State University.
All right.
Amen. So please pray for her.
Okay, so one more. So someone else that is like, it's Christmas time. I need to buy some gifts, but I don't really have a lot of money left. Who is a part of that ministry? So that person, come share and be transparent of what is going on. Come grab the mic. Okay.
About the money thing, just hit me. So about maybe like 8 weeks ago, I went to work and I was laid off at the port. So I was like, okay. And I was like, what am I going to do next? So then I'm a truck driver as well. So I'm like, I can still make money. I'm going to leave. So I left for 21 days. I went from LA to Chicago. I mean, I was gone. I was picking up loads. Estimate altogether, I made about $21,000 in 21 days. So I was supposed to get paid on that Friday. So the Friday comes, I check my ATM to see if I got a cash deposit. I didn't get a cash deposit. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to be patient and see how it happens, and tomorrow I'll do it. Then I didn't get anything that day. And then I'm like, well, I have to drop the next morning this last load that I had, but I was like 5 hours away from where I was 5 hours away from my last destination to drop the load that I had on my truck. So I kept calling the company. I'm like, hey, what's going on? I didn't get a deposit. Where's my money at? I need my money because I still got to pay bills here in LA. So I was really frustrated and I was angry because they kept saying, well, we didn't receive your paperwork. And I'm like, well, I know that's a lie because before you pick up a load and you drop a load, you got to send this stuff in here and communicate with these people. So that's not true. So fast forward, they didn't pay me. So at that time I was livid. So what I did is I drove like 12 hours away to Chicago. I dropped the truck off. I dropped the truck off in the driveway, signed in everything, and I went to the airport and I came back home. But to fast forward that, they still haven't paid me until this day. So my son called me 2 days ago. My son was like, Mom, I just spoke to this lady and they're hiring at this trucking company. I said, well, I'm not going back to trucking because I told God if he got me back from Chicago. And I mean, I drove on the road an 18-wheeler, 53,000 pounds, state to state for 21 days because I was on a mission to make this money. Why? So I can invest some in my business. You got Christmas coming around. Still not got paid. So at that time, I was just like hurt. I was like, so where my money at? So my son told me like 2 days ago, he was like, hey, there's a company out here. They said that they're hiring. And I know that you're a truck driver. And I know you said you don't want to drive trucks again. But at this time, I'm like, I got to do something until I can get my money back or we'll get an attorney or whatever. So I called the number. I was like, God, I already said I didn't want to drive again. So I called the number again and the voice sounded familiar. And I'm like, Connie? And she like, Rashanda? And I'm like, yeah. She was like, I've been calling you for the last 2 weeks. I want to offer you your job back. So I was like, what? I was like, what I need to do? She was like, well, you need an H6 printout, which I had just got before I went out of town. And it's good for 30 days. Remind you, I'm still on day 21. So I got my H6 printout. I ran over there. She was like, well, if you can do a drug test and do all this, we can have you rolling by Tuesday. I did all that in like an hour and a half. And I said, even going through all that, feeling how I feel, and before I left, I was just so excited. I told my kids, throw them beds away, throw that dining room table. I'm in Chicago giving orders. Throw them nasty mattresses away, put them on the curb. So our house looked like a squatter house. There's nothing in it because I had planned to buy everything renewed for Christmas. Then I call back, and I'm like, I'm so glad they didn't listen. Because I told my son, I said, did you take them bunk beds down? He kept telling me, yeah. But see, they didn't know that I had quit and I dropped the truck off. I just paid for the plane ticket. I'm like, I'll explain it later. I'm going to get to LAX, and then I'm going to Uber back home. So they had no clue that I was even on my way home. They thought they had some more time to do what I already been. But I was like, praise the Lord for them busted mattresses. Because they... everything.
What happened with the money? Like you have to find an attorney.
So now I'm finding out that I have to call an attorney in Chicago now. So even I live in LA, so now I have to have a Chicago attorney fight to get me my money back. So I have all my receipts and everything, but it was just like, I said, I never want to be in a position where somebody can take something away from me. And I prayed, I said, Lord, if you get me back home, I promise that I'll do the things that I was supposed to do to put me in this position. But even though I was like, I don't want to drive, I said, I didn't change my mind. I don't want to drive. But if I have to drive now temporarily to get over this hump, I'll be in that 18-wheeler on Tuesday.
How many kids do you have?
I have 7, 5 sons and 2 daughters.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And
So
here
just
goes
be
some money
persistent.
for Christmas gifts. It's 200.
You said for Christmas gift. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's keep this thing going. So our next presenter, speaker, Tamar. Ladies and gentlemen, Tamar. And so she was so helpful in just me talking to her. We used to go to the same church, me, her, and Akila at Faith Inspirational. And I actually didn't know her then.
No.
And it wasn't until if you guys went to Pastor's book signing, when was that? That was last year. My goodness. So yeah, last year, and we saw it. I was like, kind of look familiar. I don't know. And then when I called her and I was like, I need some women. She was like, girl, I got you. So she brought in these beautiful women that is here today. So thank you so much for that. So let's get into it, and please welcome again Tamora. So let's get into your story, which is very powerful, and you also as an author. So where exactly does it start for you in changing people's lives?
Within myself. So I am I try to be what I needed when I was in the dumps of my marriage and also going through divorce and then divorced, right? I know that while I was there was a lot of embarrassment. There was, disappointment. I wasn't sharing. I wasn't talking, right? But what I know today is that we need people that we are able to be honest with and let them know what our location is, right? And because I wasn't doing that, my healing took so much longer than it had to, because I was putting on a facade that I'm okay. I was walking in the unhealthy coping, which said, let me just dress up like I'm okay, but I really wasn't, right? And so what I do today is I try to tap into those pieces of broken women and now men to say there is life after divorce, but there's a journey to getting there.
Right. And you said it took longer than what you felt that it needed. Like, what was going on in that time period?
So in that time period, because my business, Make It Rise, our vision is to create a movement where we're changing the view of what society says marriage is. Right. So here I am, this woman that is pushing healthy marriage and healthy relationship, but I'm going through divorce, right?
So you had already had your company before the divorce.
Absolutely. And so it was a piece of me that wanted to throw in the towel, because how dare I share what healthy marriage looks like when I'm going through divorce. So that was a struggle for me, and I had to hear God very clear say that your status has nothing to do with your purpose. And that's one thing I want you all to know. Regardless to what your status is, whatever God purposed you to do is what you should be doing. One of the things I like to share is an analogy is just like these chairs we're sitting on. They were created for us and designed for us to sit on them, and rather one person sit on it or no one sit on it. The purpose was made for that. So whatever your purpose is, you were made for that. And I want to encourage you not to let your purpose go to the grave, right? Let's go ahead and write the vision, which is what we're doing now. We're casting, right? And making it plain.
And so you are also an author. How did that come about?
Yes. Okay. So my first book, I have 4 books. So my first book, The Marriage Policies.
4 books? I have one. I was like, y'all just writing away. Come on, Jesus.
My first book, The Marriage Policies and Procedures. Okay. So I still do work for LA County Sheriff's Department. Work in internal affairs, and a lot of what we deal with is manual policies and procedures. And as I began to read the things that deputy sergeants, employees, the discipline that was coming as a result of them not following what these manual policies and procedures were, God immediately began to show me marriages. He began to show me relationship and how that thing was just in alignment. The name of my book is derived from the manual policies and procedures. I turned it to Marriage Policies and Procedures. And so that's where that was born. And I wrote that down maybe 2 years prior to actually writing the book. And when I began to go through my divorce, I went to Bible study one night at a friend's church, and there was a bishop there, and she looked at me, and she said, there's something you're supposed to be writing. She said, I'm not sure what it is, but something that's going to be very powerful, right? And I was thinking to myself, this lady don't know me. Like, what? The color of my book, she described a color. She said, there's this pink, I see something pink. I don't know what it is, but there's something pink about that book, right? I didn't really put that together until my, I don't know if you know him, Terry Dittum, the designer, my book designer, actually he hand drew that. I just told him I want to see the back of a bride, the front of a groom, and he drew that, and then he put the color. And that was the same exact color that she described without me even telling him. So that is where the first book, that's where that started.
Yeah. And so are you also doing workshops for women and men? Like how did just all of that evolve, and did you get any support around it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I currently do workshops. I have an online workshop. I am working more so with divorcees right now because that is the vehicle that God has me in. It's so weird because when Make It Rise first started, it was about healthy marriages. But then God put me in this vehicle that made me throw into reverse and go back to being single and then work my way back up to being married. I'm not married. I'm divorced. And I am single, I'm dating someone, but he had to put me in that car, that vehicle, so that I'm able to share with the women and the men that are in the shoes that I once was in. And then come from a very genuine place, and not just something that I've read, but this is some stuff that I've lived, right? And so because I'm teaching what I've lived, it comes out a little different for me. Like, I'm very passionate about what it is that I do. Like, I mean this thing. When I say I want to hold your hand and walk with you through this thing called divorce to show you and remind you that there is something in you that God created in you that only you can pull out, that's what I want to do, right? So that's what God created me to do. And I will be, I'll do everything that I can to show a woman and a man. I just phased over into the man, let's say that. It took me a while to get comfortable with that because I wasn't sure about myself. There were some things I needed to work out within myself, right? I was needing something from a male. And so I had to make sure that wasn't going to come across in ministry and cover it up behind ministry. You know what I'm saying? I needed to keep it real with myself.
What are some of the things that people are most afraid of when they're coming to you for help after experiencing divorce?
Being real, being honest about their location. Many times we want to pretend like I'm okay, but I need a little help, right? But the way that God has given me my gift, I'm able to really tap into the core of your pain. And I'm able to help you walk that thing out, even when you really don't want to. It's not me. I'm going to be honest. It's not me. It's God. But what God has given me, I'm able to share and tap into that. And so many women are afraid to just be open. I feel like my transparency is someone's road to recovery. So it's oftentimes I try not to just say and I, right? But it's also important for people to know that you care, because they don't care what you know until they know that you care. So when I share where I've been, like I was you, right? I know how you feel, and not saying how I got through it is going to be your way of getting through it. I just want to be that hope.
If there was some sort of timeline of getting divorced and just going through the process, like what would you say it was? The things that people kind of need to do.
So I'd say, you mean as far as what do they need to do?
Kind of like the healing process. Like, are there some kind of maybe 3 things? Like, for sure, okay, you got in divorce. Maybe start with therapy.
Right.
Start looking inward. Like, what are just some of those things?
Definitely inward. So one of the things that I always share, I call it the mirror ministry. And the mirror ministry is you looking in the mirror at self. This is me. This is where I'm at. What is your location? Oftentimes when we go to a mall, we go to a store, and we're looking for a particular store, we go to the kiosk, and it says, you are here, right? So this is your location, and then you say, but I want to get to Nordstrom's that's over there, right? But how do I get over there? So I need to walk down this aisle, go down these stairs, or whatever, but it's a process. I can't just blink, and I am there. So one of the things that I always share is that you have to admit to where you're at. I mean, the pain, the embarrassment, all of the things that you feel, you have to say, this is where I am. That's number one, because before you move any further, you have to know where you're at. We can say, I know where I want to be, but where are you? Another thing we have to understand is that the process is not always going to look nor feel good, right? I'll go back to the mall analogy. I'm trying to get to, I'm trying to get to Macy's, and there's other stores on the outside that I keep getting distracted by. We cannot get distracted by the stuff or the people that have been set into place that keeps us from getting to our destination. We have to understand that the walk and the travel is where the meat of what it is that we need to get to, that's where it's at, right? Anyone can have a goal, but the thing is, what are you doing to get there? That's what's going to matter. So those are a couple of things that I like to share with women or men as they go through the process, because it's going to be important. And then the last thing is them understanding that, yes, there is life after divorce. And the life that's lived after divorce should be lived loud. And you get an opportunity to design it and to create it the way that you want it to be. Oftentimes we've gotten married, we get divorced, and then sometimes it's by way of just being a widow. You don't know who you are after that because someone haven't shared or showed us how to still be an individual while being a wife or while being a husband. There's certain things that you have to do that you should do as a wife and husband, but there's also things that God has called you to do as an individual. So I like to speak to Eve. I say, hey, Eve, you have a purpose in this thing, right? And it's not just to be the Adam. There's some things that you're going to bring to the table for Adam, but what about you? In order for you to be an enhancement or beneficial for the marriage, you must first be that for yourself as an individual.
Right. That's beautiful. I'm getting chills again.
Sorry.
When you think of your journey of where you are now as an author, a CEO for your organization, and doing workshops, is there something that you wish you would have known first, if you did it all over again?
Yeah, I wish I had known that there was more Tams out there. I wish I had known that there were more people out there that was willing to hold my hand. I wish I had known that there were people out there that was willing to get dirty with me, that were willing to say, you know what, your feelings are valid. I wish I had known that there was help. I wish I had known that I needed a closer relationship with God in order for me to do this thing the righteous way.
When you think of just like your support and network, like who are some of those people that helped you along the way?
My kids, it's funny because we can learn a lot from our children, but I'm going to tell you what you can learn from your children is what you've put in them. Right? So I seen some good stuff that I put in them, and I saw some things that I was like, whoa, right? But I learned some things from my babies. The strength that they showed me while I was going through the thing that I was going through was amazing. And then my mentors, my pastor, my first lady, just giving me the opportunity to come and just share and be transparent and available for all of what I had going on, right? There to support me, there to tell me, you got this, being my biggest cheerleaders, my mother, my friends. So I had a lot of support, but it took a long time for me to even say, I need help. I can't do this by myself, right? So I encourage anyone that's going through, coming out of, is divorced, to find you somebody that you can trust. Get you some godly counsel. Get with somebody that's going to pour life into you and not speak death. And sometimes those people don't look like the folks you've been rocking with for years. Right. Sometimes it's not your homegirl that you thought had your back. Sometimes she doesn't even have the capacity to give you the things that you need, right? So you got to find somebody that has the capacity of what it is that you need to be poured into you. Right? If there's a scripture in the Bible that says that I'm going to put it in my own terms, but it talks about the people that we expect to support us. A priest is without honor in his own home. That's the scripture. A priest is without honor in his own home. And I learned that, and I was disappointed a lot because I expected this person to be there. You my girl. We've been rocking with you. Like, come on.
To run around this church because that's my...
Yeah, like how like what? Wait a minute, right? And then I was so disappointed. And when I heard that scripture, every time I felt that disappointment, I had to recite that to myself. And then God came to me and he said,
"What's this?" Somebody text me that scripture.
A priest is without honor in his own. I don't know the address of it, but I Google it. A priest is without honor in his own home. But what God shared with me down the line after going through my healing process related to that is look at how they did support you. So I want us to understand that support looks different from everyone. Our expectation is one thing, everybody's support is many things. So if I am looking at this sister right here and my expectation is for her to support me in the season that I'm in, it may not be her time to support me. Her support may just be to make me smile, to make me laugh. Her support may just say, hey, Tam, when you go to that event, you can drop Imari, my daughter. You can drop Imari off over here with my girls. That is her support. Support is not always going to look the same on everyone, but our expectations are the same. Our expectations are the same. And so we have to be very careful with that so that we aren't disappointing ourselves for nothing.
You should have told me that last year. But thank you for telling me now. In the final question, what final advice would you like to share?
So my final advice that I'd share, so let me talk to a single woman, a woman that's dating, and then a woman, I'm going to say person. A single person, a person that's dating, and a married person. So to the single person, I'm going to tell you, date yourself. Take yourself out. Go to the movies. Buy yourself dinner. Self-care. Do all of those things for you. Prepare for the next phase and the next stage of your life. To the person that's dating someone, to the person that's trying to learn someone, get to know God. Have a relationship with him. Let him teach you how to learn someone. Let him teach you what questions you need to ask. Let him teach you how to do, how to be, right? Let him teach you how to look in the mirror and not out the window. Look in the mirror at yourself, not out the window at other people to judge and to gauge what you think you should be. And to the person that is married, always be a teacher and a student. Always be a teacher and a student in your marriage. Be willing to teach who you are becoming, because the person you said I do to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, evolved, changed as a result of experience, right? So if I continue to give you the same thing that I was giving you when we first said I do 10 years ago, I'm putting us in a bad place. So those are the things that I would leave to a single, a dating, and a married person.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
You're
being
welcome.
here. Beautiful. Okay, John 4 and 43. Thank you. Okay. All right, so next up we have a man we actually work for the same organization. And I didn't know his story until, I'm not sure like how long after, but what I really admired about him is just like how professional he was, how passionate he was, and just how dedicated he is about just the work that we do. And we work in a nonprofit within social justice. And so, without further ado, Tamari Richard to the stage. Mr. Richard.
Hello, everyone. All right. Okay.
All right. So, Mr. Richard, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. And thank you, guests that I've listened to. I'm very, very interested and educated, learn some things just sitting here. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm also his boss. I tell him, you
Yes.
don't call me your boss.
Oh, yeah, she don't like me calling her boss. Okay.
I supervise Richard. But he has always have been a pleasure to work with, and we have connected, and so I'm just glad that you're here. I'm here in so many ways. So let's start from when you were a kid growing up with all of your brothers. How many brothers do you have?
I grew up in South Central LA. I came from a family of 9 boys. I don't want to get emotional up here today,
okay.
so anyway, I work with Dr. K in a place for an organization called Friends Outside. I served 43 and a half years in prison. So.
Stop right there. He said 43 and a half years. There go the children. And a half years in prison. And he is sitting before you today. Can we clap for that?
And I connected with Dr. K. We first met, I used to bump heads with her. But once I got to know her, I came to understand that she's actually a very giving person, and she was there to help me. And so I stopped being resistant and embraced what she was trying to give me from a corporate and professional standpoint. So as a result of that, when Dr. K calls me, I'm there. You know, when I need her, she's there. So I appreciate Dr. K for the person that she is. I went to prison as a result of a crime that I committed as a juvenile.
How old were you?
I was 16, and I was given a life sentence, so I didn't think I was going to ever get out of prison. And I think Dr. K just showed a picture with me and my, no, it was another picture with my mother on there and about all of us on there. So it's a bunch of pictures with me in prison and stuff like that. So I've been home since 2018. I discharged parole, so I've been out like almost 5 years come March. And
So kind of going back, discharge parole. How many times did you sit up for the or go up for the parole board?
about 20 times.
20 times, and that was it the 19th time you were like, I have to do something different?
Yeah, it was in about the 19th time. Be honest with you, I didn't think I was going to ever get out of prison. I thought I was going to die in prison. So I really had gave up on life in a sense. I mean, when I say gave up on life, in the sense that I didn't cooperate with the officers. I was always in trouble. I was doing all kind of criminal stuff, even in prison. I was just like, this is where I'm gonna die at, so what's the need for change?
And
I didn't see a need.
Richard was the man on the inside, and so was running game on the inside, running game on the outside, but it wasn't until you went to a workshop or a class, and when we see the book, let's pause there. Let's
Yeah,
talk about
they showed it a minute ago.
Oh,
It was
they
a
did?
house.
Okay.
It was on there. So I used to think that I was tough. And one of the things that I've listened to some other people talk about is the fact that getting to know yourself. See, I didn't even know me. I didn't know why I behaved the way I behaved. I didn't know why I thought the way I thought. I just was basically acting, to me today I call it in a reactionary type of way. And I say that because I was angry, I was hurt, I had trauma, but I didn't know how to deal with any of those things, so I suppressed it. And they talk about anger. They say anger is a natural emotion, but anger is also a secondary emotion. It's not a primary thing. That means you're covering something up with that anger that you have. And I didn't understand any of that. So I was always taught that you get down where you get mad at. So if you get mad, then you handle your business right then. So my way of handling things was always in a physical or confrontational type of way. So I was given what was called a 7 years to life, and I turned that into 43 and a half years. I used to, for 7 years, I just refused to even go to into the parole room. I'll tell them, send it to me in the mail. And they send it to me in the mail. I mean, they tell me, okay, well, you denied for 4 years because you didn't come in here. All right, so what? I was going to the boardroom, and I would be looking at the clock like, okay, I'll be glad when this hearing is over so I can go back out to the yard and hang out. That was my mindset. I thought I was being hard. Actually, what it was, I came to understand I was actually being a quitter. I had quit on myself because I didn't.
A quitter.
Yeah, a quitter. Yes, because I didn't love myself. I didn't value myself. So if you don't love or value yourself, how can you love or value anybody else? So one of the things that for years, like I said again, I gave up, and like Dr. K said, I was like in prison. It's crazy because I was in a prison called San Quentin. I was such a problem, they kicked me out of San Quentin and sent me to Pelican Bay State Prison. Now, how can you get kicked out of a prison? think about that for a minute. But really, people used to hate to see me coming, okay, because they said I had walked around with a look in my eye of someone who just didn't care. And actually, that's where I was at. So I wasn't going to commit suicide, but my thing was somebody going to kill me, okay? And so I stayed in that mindset for a long time, and then finally, there's a book up there that Dr. K had. It's called The Houses of Healing. Now,
You stayed in that mindset for how many years?
till I was in my 50s. Yeah. Okay, so I spent all my 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s in prison, okay? And so I was, academically, I was always smart in school, so it wasn't because I was a dummy. It wasn't that, it was just I was making bad decisions. I had older brothers who I looked up to. They were in gangs and stuff like that, so I just like morphed right into the stuff that they were doing. I hurt my mother. That's my mother right there on the picture with me and my brothers. And
But you here today.
And I say I hurt my mother because out of all my mother's sons, she had aspirations for everybody, but she used to she kind of like knew that I was like, well, I was the lightest one in my family. Kind of like back up for a minute, and I was considered a white baby in my family because I'm like, in black families we got this light skin, dark skin stuff. So my brothers used to not be necessarily physically abusive, but they were verbally abusive to me. So my mother used to try to protect me. And so what I did was I took the anger that was going on in my house, because I didn't even know what dysfunction was until I went to prison. But I came from a dysfunctional family. Bottom line, that's what it was. It was dysfunctional. And so the anger that I had towards what was going on to me in that house, I took it out on other people. And so my mother, I used to get A's in school because I enjoyed school, but I also liked the street life. I was attracted to that. And so instead of me doing something in my life, I ended up getting caught up, and I ended up committing a homicide at the age of 16 with 2 of my friends. And I was tried as an adult and sent to prison. So my mother stayed by my side until the day she died. She would come to prison and visit me and talk to me. And I remember one time I tell people the story because one day my mother came to see me, and she was sitting there. We were talking, and I said, "Mom, I'm tired of being in this place." And she said something to me. She said, "Baby, how do you think I feel after coming and see you like this?" And I realized how selfish I had been toward my mother, because she tried the best she could. She tried to send me to summer camp. She did everything she could do to try to keep me away from things, but it just didn't happen. So I'm going to kind of fast forward a little bit. So I'm not trying to tell my whole life story. But when I got to prison, I made a vow to myself that I wasn't going to let these people break me. So I said, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to walk up out of here the same way I walked in here. But of course, mind you, I didn't think I was going to get out of prison. And I stopped.
You starting with the book?
Yeah. So I saw people coming to prison after me, but going on before me. I saw people getting out, and I'm like, okay. And so I was walking around the track one day in prison, and they had brought these people in to teach classes on meditation. I didn't plan to go to the class. I just happened to be walking out around the track, and someone told me just go in there, and it was in a church, because I wasn't interested in God, religion, or none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I went inside, and they were actually some Buddhists, but they were not there to teach us about Buddhism. They were really just there to teach us about meditation. And I went in there, I sat in the class, and I listened. And something about what they were talking about just intrigued me, so I went back the next week. Then it was an 8-week class, so I ended up going for the whole 8 weeks. So I'm in there learning how to meditate. And actually, meditation is actually what helped me to start on my transition or my transformation.
It saved your life.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Because what it did was it started having me to question myself and look at myself. And one of the things was, like I always tell people today, it's 2 questions I come to ask myself: who are you, and what is your purpose in life? At that point, I couldn't answer either one of those questions. I really couldn't. And so I just started, like the young lady just talking about getting to know who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, then where are you going? I was just like there. I was in survival mode. I was existing. And so I started trying to piecemeal. Okay, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on that. Doesn't work. You have to work on the whole self. And one of the things that I came to discover was about trauma, or unresolved trauma, if you will. And I had that. And there's another thing that I learned about was toxic shame. Okay, and so I didn't know what that was first. Okay, then I came to understand what that is. And basically what it was I found out that I didn't love myself, I didn't value myself, and I had issues that I had not dealt with. I was running from because nobody told me how to deal with these things. So from a emotional, psychological standpoint, I didn't know what emotional intelligence was. I didn't know what any of those things were. So I started reading. Something I always liked to do was read. So I became my own guinea pig in a sense. I just started working on myself. And then I came across this book called The Houses of Healing that this lady wrote. Her name is Robin Kasarji, and she's based in Boston, Massachusetts. And when I read the book, it's just like it just resonated with me. Like it's like this book was meant for me. It was like I was meant to read this book. And when I read it, I probably read the book like 10 times because every time I went through it, it was just something else I was getting from it. And the book actually helped, and with the meditation, actually helped me to change my belief system because one thing the lady was talking about, she was talking about expectations and how we expect things from other people. But I've learned that an expectation can actually be a resentment waiting to happen. And what do I mean by that is this here, because we can expect something from someone, and if they don't meet that expectation, what happens? You're going to feel some kind of way about that because you expected them to give or do something for you that they did not do. And they may not even been aware of what your expectation was, but we still hold them accountable for that. So,
Going back to the book, you read it 10 times, and then you got inspired to write her. So what happened after that?
Yeah, so the author of the book, I just really saw how the book was helping me. So now, mind you, real quick, I was like a selfish and predatory type of dude at this time in my life, right? So after reading this book, I wrote the author of the book, and I told her, I said, I read your book, and would it be okay if I took your material and start teaching this to some of the other men in the prison with me? She said, yeah. She wrote me back, and she said, yes. She said, how can I help you? So she gave me 30 copies of her book. She gave me all the videos of the book. You know, she had on videos like those big old black things that you put in there like you watch movies on. She sent all that stuff to me for free. And she asked me, she said, Richard, well, can you do me one favor? When you do the classes, can you have one or two of the guys write a letter or write something that what they got from the book? So I made it part of the curriculum that upon completion of the class that everybody had to write a letter or write some type of statement as to what they got from the material, from the curriculum. And it was like a 13-week curriculum that I started doing. And so I'm facilitating these classes. Now, mind you, I was being selfless, but I also had a selfish reason for doing it, because I felt that by me doing that, this was now going to entrench me into my own development or journey. You understand what I'm saying? For the material that I'm teaching. And so I started teaching it to the guys. And
How many letters did she get?
she ended up getting like 400. So I ended up basically doing it over like a 2.5-year period of time. I'm teaching this class to these people. And as I'm doing it, I'm changing. I'm becoming a different person. And a lot of guys, I watch them talk about their trauma, and we would break down and we would cry. I mean, we're men in prison crying, but we had a safe place to be able to share and open up. And as a result of that, a lot of guys came to me and just told me, man, thank you. Because what happened was we all were wounded. We just didn't know how to deal with it. And so we basically, with each other, we are healing, okay? And that's basically what happened. And sure.
From them going to your class, you were helping men now parole from prison.
Right. Yeah, I had a friend, well, he was a Hispanic guy. He had went to the parole board, and he had got denied 7 years. They gave him a 7-year denial. I'm not going to get into all the particulars of the case, but he was in there for murder as well. And he kept blaming his victim for killing him. And so he came to me one day, and he was telling me, he said, man, look, I'm going to go to the board again here in about 6 or 7 months, and I know I'm not ready. And he said, I'm just going to go in there, and I'm just going to tell him, give me a 3-year denial. 3 denials, basically, we stipulate saying we're not suitable for parole. And I told him, I said, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. So I worked with him for 6 months. Every day I asked him about 100 questions. We just worked. I mean, we talked about everything. He had to be honest with me about the factors of his case. And he ended up getting found suitable for parole. So he wrote his family and told his family, hey, if it wasn't for this black guy, I wouldn't even be out of prison. Now, he's my friend. He died last year. Excuse me, earlier this year. But my point was, he was home for almost 5 years, had started working in the movie industry, was doing good, and he ended up having a heart attack. But the point I'm making is, he was prepared to just like give up, and he didn't. And so I met his family, I met his fiance. I mean, he died at least out here a free person. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of dying inside a prison. You understand what I'm saying? So,
So let's share, before you go, a little bit about what you're doing today and how you're giving back.
So I work in the reentry field, as Dr. Skay says, and for me, it's not just a job. It's something I'm real passionate about. So what I do is, anybody that's getting out of prison, state prison, I help them to with resources. So I do like a lot of networking for us, finding. I'm not a job facilitator per se. I'm not a housing specialist per se. I just try to be a jack of all trades and try, if they need identification, I refer them there. If they need housing, employment, they want to go back to school, they have child custody issues, just things of that nature. That's what I'm doing. But one of the things that I was sharing with Dr. K, what I would like to do is this here. I'm working on starting my nonprofit. I got it established, but I'm still going through some growing phases. Is I really want to deal with the unresolved trauma of people. And the reason why I say that is because even though I'm off parole, I still see a therapist twice a month. Don't have a problem with it. I talk to him. Okay, I'm okay with that. Okay, because I understand how mental health works. Okay, and I know in the black community, a lot of us are ashamed to say that they talk to somebody or whatever. I don't. A lot of my friends, they're off parole. As soon as they got off parole, they shook all that. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool with it. I'm continue to do it. Okay.
Dedicated, where we've been meeting and doing work, and he's like, "Oh, I need to take a break. I got my therapist. I need to speak to him right now. I'll be back." And I'm like, "What am I? I'm not ever going to say no. You can't do that." But other workplaces will. So when he was like, "Oh no, they're calling, like they have to call right back. I'll be back," and I'm like, this is someone that's transparent about, his therapy, and I know Akila is as well, and I just thought that was so powerful to hear him say like, "I need to take a break to speak to my therapist. I'll be right back." So I commend you on everything that you have done and that you are doing. What advice would you like to share?
Sure. Well, real quick, the advice I would like to share is this here, and I believe it has to do with self-love and self-care. That's where I'm at. You know, I think that a person needs to always put themselves first, and because if you don't practice self-care, who's going to practice it for you? And so for me, it's about just loving yourself and getting to know who you are. Okay, and that's pretty much what I have to say. Because for me, it's I didn't know me. Once I got to know me, I like me. I accepted me. I'm okay with who I am. I don't worry about how somebody else sees me or views me. I'm cool. I'm comfortable with me. But my problem in the past is a lot of times we as people, we tend to wear masks. We want to be accepted by our peers and appear to be something that we're not. And that was my problem. I was not comfortable with myself and learning how to love myself. And that's all I want to say. Just learn to know yourself and love yourself. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. And also thank his beautiful partner, Dr. King, also a pastor of a new church. Wave, Dr. King. All right, so last and not least, we also have Rochelle that is coming up to tell her story. And when I heard a little bit about it, I was like, "Oh, you're like a real life angel." And she was like, "No, not an angel." I was like, "No," but after I just heard your story, I was like, "Isn't that what an angel is?" So you guys will hear her story, and please welcome her to the stage. Richard, can you help her up right here? And doesn't she look beautiful? Lady in red. And her beautiful mother is also here to help
And
me
sister.
I know. Oh, and her sister.
And
oh,
her
my
sister.
goodness. Hi. So thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you, Dr. K, for having me.
Yeah. So just start. I'm like, I don't know where you want to start with this.
I think I'm going to start at the point
Okay.
of a change in my
Whatever
life.
it is. Yeah.
I was just celebrating my 50th birthday. And anybody that knows celebrations are big, it's a milestone. I was an event planner, so I put a lot into it. I planned to see my family and friends. My brother flew out, him and his family. And, we just had a wonderful time. At this time, I'm married. I had been married about 15 years. And, my partner, we didn't see eye to eye. And so he did not come to the celebration. So, I could have been mad. I could have held it against him, but I didn't. I was like, you know what? I just forgive you, and we're going to keep pushing. So anyway, long story short, 1 month after celebrating my 50th birthday, I had a sudden cardiac arrest.
Heart attack.
Well, it wasn't a heart attack. It was like my heart stopped. And I think someone said it earlier, when there's pain, there's something bigger coming.
Yeah.
So I was at work one day and I started having, it felt like contractions in my heart. And I just got my purse and I got up and I knew where the hospital was. So I just drove myself to the hospital, like, let me just get checked out. Went to the hospital. Well, my blood pressure was super high. And my sister was sitting with me, and she was just like, I'm just going to sit with you. I'm just going to pray with you. But it was really extreme. But that was the prelude. So 1 month after that, my husband and I were separated at this time. We were going to watch a movie. I wasn't feeling good. So I got up. I said, I'm going to go to the go get some water from the kitchen. Had the movie all, ready to go. I went to the kitchen, but I never came back. He said, Holy Spirit told him, go check on your wife. I didn't make a sound. I didn't scream. I just dropped dead. Literally.
In the kitchen.
So, this was a day before my mother's birthday. And I guess he had left a message for her. And she left a message for my sister. Well, if you really know, if you're in tune with the Spirit of God, He always gives us forewarning. And so my sister had got an attack, right? I'm under attack. And so this is when the prayer warriors have to stand up. You don't have to know what's going on. You just got to be ready to pray. Right. And that's what they did. So I know I had shared some of the pictures because they weren't in order. And I think I sent you the last one. Did you get that this morning? I got it. Okay, yeah. I hadn't seen that picture. And it was a picture with me with all these tubes, and I was on life support. Yeah. They induced me in a medical-induced coma for 3 days.
But your husband, what happened when you were in the kitchen?
Well, he did what he was supposed to do. His purpose was to intervene. He did CPR, he called 911, and he was there. Yeah. And I'm just going to leave that at that. We'll pick it up in a minute. Okay. But I'm just saying, finding that purpose, I had a rebirth. Because nobody could anticipate something like that happening to them. Right. Something like that happens to you, the first mind is like, why did this happen to me? I never asked that question. I said, well, Lord, you must have known. He knew. And so as long as I could remember, I've been speaking faith. And one of my confessions was, I shall live and not die and proclaim the works of the Lord. So eventually, God had been positioning me. I was working with a nonprofit, a women's organization. We were a women's ministry, and we specialized inner city. So we were inner city women of faith. And so I had served 7 years. But during that time, before coming on, I was praying with the leader at 5 in the morning. I wasn't an early riser. Right. And so having to get up that early to pray, I thought, oh, this is kind of weird. This is different. But nonetheless, I did it anyway.
Was this before or after?
This is before.
Okay.
This is like maybe a year before. And so after everything happened, the Lord began to just talk to me. Because, I have questions like, I had a reoccurring dream that angels lifted me and put me in the arms of Jesus. But I didn't see his face. But I knew it was him. So it was like he was telling me there's a bigger purpose for you without knowing what was going on. So fast forward, 2 years later, my husband got sick. And within 2 weeks, he passed away. But the Lord allowed me to be there with him. And right before he transitioned, he said, I now know why the Lord brought you back. And it was to help me. And because of this is what my husband told me. And I said that because we had just an off and on relationship. But some of the things that I experienced in the relationship, and this is important for someone who is looking to be married, you got to know who you get married to. You got to know who you yoking up with, who you are in covenant with. Because what the person that you're in covenant with They're supposed to be covering you, okay? But if their words are contrary to what God's word is, then it's a whole nother battle. So it was like he would say things and they just didn't line up. And I would say, that's not what my God says. The God I serve, that's not what he says. So it was a lot of kind of back and forth, but eventually I got peace and I stopped arguing. God literally shut my mouth. He's like, shut up, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. But I didn't have a buildup of the pain because I'm thinking he's supposed to do something for me. That was said again earlier. But I could see that the Lord was moving me out to position me. But I just didn't know what. But now I know. But now I know.
And there you are. So what was that big thing that occurred thereafter your cardiac arrest?
Well, the doctors had me induced, and it was like my body was cold. And they told my mom, well, we're going to start warming her up because it was 72 hours. And she said, the doctor called my name. I didn't wake up. But when she called my name, I woke up, my eyes open. And so I know it was a but God moment. It was a but God moment. Nothing else but a period. Because he suspended time. I am a notable miracle. Because we don't even know how much time that I wasn't breathing. And the brain needs oxygen within, 6, 8, 10 minutes, something like that. But now I've been on a journey. So it's been 4 years since my husband passed. And God has just really opened up this tremendous thing for me to start working and doing and being passionate about because I found my purpose. And it was at the start of the pandemic. And the Lord said, wait, you didn't even grieve your husband. And I'm like, huh? Nobody's working. So sit down, shut up, and grieve. I'm like, okay. And after I released what I thought was, whatever was that was holding me, the Lord began to just download and download and download. Started a podcast, started a business, got incorporated. So it is very true when he said in Habakkuk 2:2 to write the vision and make it plain. Because you do have to write. But before you get to that point, you have to release all the stuff that's been holding you back.
That's good. Yeah.
So we're going into a new year, Dr. K, 2023. And most people say, yeah, I want to lose some weight. I want a new job. I want this. I didn't want to mate now. I want my boo thing. Okay. But you got to be ready. Because when he shows up, are you going to be ready? So I think that's really.
I do ministry back Yes. It's real.
But it's like even with that, even dating, it took me 4 years I wasn't even ready to date. I just was like, I'm on a celibate journey. I'm not even dating anyone. I wasn't broadcasting it. But it was just for me, just to get close to the Lord, get that walk, understand who I was, what I liked, who am I? And the first thing that I asked, I'm like, well, who am I? I'm not married. I'm single now. Huh?
Your whole identity, right?
And then, this is what the Lord said. So you see, Rachel Love. Well, my last name was Jones. So Rachel Love Jones, right? So I have kind of dropped Jones because the Lord said, I gave you my last name. My name is Love. God is love. So people that I encounter, I come across, the people that come across my path, is to meet God. It's not, I'm not to preach at them. I'm just to share. And it's up to them to receive.
So in 2020, did you start working in the real estate business, or were you doing that prior?
Well, I've been on a clubhouse, clubhouse ministry, clubhouse education, although I do have 2 masters. So I earned my MBA, I earned an MA, but for 2 years, I've been listening and applying. So yes, I heard some information that I was not privy to, and I will be glad to share it with anyone that wants to know. It's about starting your business properly, getting properly structured, so you can get to the bag. And that's really all that I really, it's more to it, but it's just like ministry, right? When you're ministering to someone, you're leading them, you're telling them about the good news. Hey, I got good news for you. Well, what's the good news? The good news is Jesus is Lord. The good news is you can change your mindset. Because once you change your mindset, the brother said it, stuff starts opening. You start manifesting. And it's like you see it, you say it, you do it. But if you're in a relationship where, there's negativity or someone combating you, it's really hard to kind of shake it. So you have to protect your ear gate as well as your eye gate. Then you know what's been deposited in you. Someone said it earlier. What you deposit in your kids, my oldest son was on Facebook. I need everybody to pray for my mama. But it just said who they are. I know they've located themselves. I know they love the Lord. Of course, you saw the pictures, they were at my bedside like every day. And yes, that felt good. I didn't know what was going on. They had to tell me, this is what happened. See, this is what had happened to you. You know what I'm saying? Because I did not know, but all I can say is God is no respecter of persons. You may be dealing with some other life-threatening disease, diabetes, cancer, whatever it is under the name of Jesus. There's nothing higher than the name of Jesus. So when you apply that word to your life, I'm telling you, it's already here for you. It's not like you have to go look for the money. The money's here. You just got to get in a position to receive.
What type of clients do you have that you're helping?
I'm helping small business. Any small business owners out there? Those are the people I'm helping.
And so when you look back at your journey, everything that has happened, the miracle, the marriage, is there anything that you would change?
You know what? I thought about that. There's nothing I would change. It happened the way it was supposed to happen. It played out exactly the way God said. But it's according to what's in you. It's according to your faith. What have I been saying? Proverbs 18:21 says, death and life is in the power of the tongue. So whatever you're saying, you're going to have it, good or bad. So you got to be careful what you're saying.
Right.
Muzzle your mouth. In 2023, don't be saying nothing that you don't want to happen, because those things will happen. And then you'll be wondering, like, how did this happen? Well, what were you saying?
What were you saying and what were you thinking?
What were you thinking? Because when a thought comes, you got to arrest those thoughts. All right? Because the thoughts can really have you out there, and you will be checking up out of here because those thoughts were not of God. They were from the enemy. So he tells us to cast down those thoughts, every vain imagination that exalts itself against the name of Jesus. We got to pull them down, pulling down strongholds, because that's what keeps us from getting to our purpose. That's what it's about. writing that vision, make it plain. You said it earlier, journaling. That's where it starts. You taking notes, you go back. But here's the thing, that this is the tip that I would give. As you are making your vision plan, don't do it without God. It's his vision. He says, I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. A plan for goodness, not to harm you, to bring you to an expected end. And so when that word is in you, you can't help but to gravitate back to it, because that's the truth. That's God's love, and it gives you strength. He says you are more than a conqueror. The world says, oh, we're going through a recession. Or da-da-da. No, God says, I own the cattle on 1,000 hills. The silver and the gold belong to me. So if you are his, they belong to you. And start claiming them. Thank you.
And thank you to all of our guests and speakers. This was absolutely amazing. And yes. And we started with one of my favorite videos. And when we think about, a lot of the people said that they had people like in their corner, they had support. But when there was a time where I feel like I didn't have that, or I wasn't getting that message that I wanted, I would go to YouTube. And YouTube was there 24 hours a day. It was there 24/7. And I would watch those videos that would motivate me. Eric Thomas, that's my favorite motivational speaker. Les Brown, another speaker. And then when you look at one video, if you're on YouTube, another one comes up that is like-minded, right? And so now I'm like just watching it, and I just created a playlist from that. And so that has been able to inspire me, because if you know some of my story, like I don't have that family. Born in the system, my adoptive mom passed away and grew up as the only child, so people like Shubi, and I'm about to cry now, and Pastor Courtney, when I moved, and talking to Richard, when I moved, still checked on me. And I know, like, they're a part of me, they're a part of my family, and so many other people. So, in the church family, like, this is feel like my first church home. And I am over 40 now. But I've been going to churches my entire life, but when I came here at the call of Aquila to speak, I literally never left. Like, they invited me here, did a book signing, and I was like, this feels like home. But then I was like, guess what? I'm moving to San Francisco. But I am moving back next year because this is my home. And so I'm excited. Just so excited to come back. And one of the things, when I was there for a few months, I was just like, I really want to be in the church. I really want to be able to do so much more, and to be able to do things like this. And I was like, I can't do that out there. And Tamora was talking about just the friends and expectations. I'm going through all of that right now. Like, best friends that I thought that would be there, because in the first 6 months of being there, the worst things in my life have happened. And I'm like, what is this all about? And the people that I thought were going to be there, I had those expectations, like, we're best friends, so you're going to show up for me, right? Quote, that's what I thought. But they did not, and I'm working through that, and hearing those words that you said about it, I'm like, it's my expectations that I placed upon them. We didn't have a discussion. I just thought, because I was there for you when you were down, that you would be there for me when I was, and they weren't. And I'm like, I've told Rich, I'm like, Richard, Shubi, Pastor, like, what is this about? And I'm still trying to understand that, but in the midst of, I'm still covered, I'm still here, safe, speaking to you all. So thank you so very much. We're going to end on a fun song. There's some more giveaways. We'll do it next door. So if you're staying, it's the vision board that we're going to create. And if we go over there, there's more gifts. Before you go over there, please check out the tables. Tamora, she has one, I have one, and Shubi has one. And then in talking about support, make sure that you talk to of the people that just spoke and connect with them. I saw people raise their hands that they have a small business. We have transformational coaches. We got business lending, social justice, Shubi, entrepreneurs, make it right. Like, this is your, if you don't have it, this is your support. And these doors are always open, okay? Amen, and thank you, and let her rip.